The question, Kim, could you comment on Meher Baba's saying, don't worry, be happy? He also said the highest form of spirituality is service to others. Well, of course it's a good saying. It's a positive saying. Don't worry, be happy. But what good does it do to tell that to somebody who is trapped in their difficult unresolved psychology? Because, you know, you could say that happiness is a natural state for people, but something has taken us out of that natural state, and it's unresolved psychology. It's the unresolved psychology that causes us to suffer. It's what I've called the subconscious selves. And this is what causes us to react a certain way to the world, and that's what causes us suffering. So here you have a person who is trapped in one of these, who's seeing the world through one of these subconscious selves, and it sees that life is suffering, and you are saying, oh, don't worry, be happy. I mean, what good is it going to do? How is the person going to shift? You can try to shift, you know, as you see many people who do with the law of attraction or the positive mental attitude, you know, where you are using the conscious mind to try to force yourself to go into a positive state of mind. But what you're really doing, as I explained in my law of attraction talk, you're creating another subconscious self to try and suppress the subconscious selves that make you unhappy. And so it becomes this very artificial form of spirituality. I don't consider it really spirituality, because you are trying to produce a state of mind by suppressing or denying something. And real spirituality is when you look at, why am I unhappy? Why am I worrying? And then you see that it comes from the psychology, these subconscious selves. You look at that, you look at it openly and honestly, you resolve it, and then you have made a step forward, and then you just keep doing that until you reach the ultimate state of consciousness. So I would say, what's the point in telling people, don't worry, be happy? Tell them how to overcome the psychology, and then as they reach higher levels of awareness, then they will automatically start, and not automatically, but you will, by resolving these subconscious selves, you will not worry anymore, because it's the selves that worry, it's not you. And therefore you will feel peace of mind and what you could call happiness, even though it isn't a dualistic happiness. And then, of course, then there's the saying that the highest form of spirituality is service to others. And I agree with that in the sense that I have talked about, you know, the 144 levels of consciousness. I've said that below the 48th level of consciousness, people are completely self-centered and self-focused. And that's why you have all the worrying and the suffering. As you rise from the 48th to the 96th level, you become less focused on yourself. And then at the 96th level, that's where you need to make this very important shift, where you start realizing that it's not about me. It really isn't about me. And you start having more of the sense of connection with your higher self. But when you are connected to your higher self, you see that your higher self came out of this source, which is really the Ascended Masters, and all other people did the same thing. And for that matter, even the physical planet is created by the Ascended Masters out of consciousness. So you begin to see a connection to other people and to even the physical planet. And that means you now realize that it really isn't a matter of just you as a separate self. In fact, there's a point on the spiritual path, you can't really grow anymore if you're trying to grow as a separate self, and that's, as I said, the 96th level. And then in order to get beyond that, you have to say, it's not about me as a separate self, it's about me growing towards higher levels of oneness in my own presence. And as I do that, you naturally want to raise the whole. I mean, really, you naturally want to raise the whole. And so what happens to people when they go beyond that level, they naturally find some way to give service to others. Or it might not be people, it can also be the Ascended Masters, where you are bringing forth some kind of ideas that ultimately help others. But it's a matter of what you're focused on. I mean, there are people who have passed that level, they are focused on helping the planet. helping the Earth, freeing it from this pollution, for example. And sometimes because they're still not ascended, so they can become very focused on the Earth and forget about people. But then you see many, many people who are focused on serving other people in some way. And there are many, many well-meaning people who have reached that level of consciousness where it isn't about them. It isn't about them. And for example, the Danish Prime Minister, a woman, she just made the statement that working for the government, working in the public service, is a calling. It's not just a job, it's a calling, because you're there to serve the people, whether you're an elected politician or you work in a bureaucracy. And I thought that was a profound statement, because you don't hear that very often, at least not in Denmark. And it's true. I mean, that is what it is. It is a calling to give service. But then you can also have people who are at another level where they're focusing on the Ascended Masters or some kind of spiritual service, however they see it. But really, I mean, when you step up to the spiritual realm, you see the Ascended Masters. There is nothing else up there, but Ascended Masters. But you may not call them that, but that's what you connect to. And then you are focused on serving them. For example, I've said there are many people that are in embodiment right now because they want to help manifest Saint Germain's golden age. And so there can be people who are attuned to him. What can Saint Germain bring forth through them? Some new idea, some new invention, some new expression, a book, whatever it may be. It can be all kinds of things. This is ultimately what will bring the planet towards the golden age.